The countdown is officially on to the college football playoff. Ohio State will face Tennessee in the Horseshoe, 8 p.m. on December 21st. It's going to be cold, but the Horseshoe is going to be rocking. Ryan Day and the Buckeyes are very excited for that opportunity to play in the college football playoff. That's the 41-year vet. Tim May, I'm Spencer Holbrook. In there was just Ryan Day, the head coach of the Ohio State Buckeyes, the 8-seeded Buckeyes, as they march to the college football playoff, Tim.
Yep. Don't march very far. They don't have to march very far.
No, just a couple blocks.
Yep.
We did some instant reaction when the bracket was revealed over at Lettermen Row's YouTube channel. Go check that out if you haven't yet. It was kind of fun to just react to it in real time with a couple hundred of our favorite people. What do you think now, Tim? You've heard from Ryan Day. This team is now gearing up for an official matchup against Tennessee.
Yeah, number one, I did some advanced scouting, and not on Tennessee, but on the weather. Right now, the long-range forecast calls for a high that day of 41, I think, in Columbus, and a low of like 32, 33. It's not going to be close to the Michigan conditions in that regard, if that holds, and very light, if any, wind. So you got that going for you at least. What is this? How many days out? 13 days out.
Days,
I'm sure that weather forecast will change 13 times during that period.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, this was a matchup. I mean, even Ryan Day admitted he was studying Tennessee pretty much this past week, because that was what it looked like. As we kept saying, the term I kept using was it looked like the college football playoff committee had joined Ohio State and Tennessee at the hip.
Yeah.
They were going to be in that order, Ohio State and then Tennessee, no matter how the things flipped down. And of course, it flipped down. You had to make way for Boise State and Arizona State in the top four. Mm-hmm. So Ohio State moved down 2 spots from 6 to 8. That made total sense. The guys above them all moved down, but in front of them. So whether Ohio State should have been ahead of Penn State, you can argue that till the cows come home. Bottom line is they're not. They're number 8, and as Ryan Day said, you've got to look forward to a history-making event, the first college football playoff game ever in Ohio Stadium. And add to that, it's going to be a night game. Is going to be crispy. You're playing a team from the, quote, South, end quote. We'll see how much difference that makes. And then on top of that, when I asked him, I brought it up. I mean, this is SEC versus Big Ten in the college football playoffs. You can't make a marquee much better than that.
No, and it's the third best SEC team against, quote, unquote, the third best Big Ten team.
Correct.
The top 2 teams in each league that didn't make the conference title game. That makes it a little bit more intriguing, because this is the kind of matchup that we hoped for all along when this 12-team playoff format was announced. We wanted this kind of matchup, and
you don't get Chattanooga in the first round of the college football playoff.
Indiana and Notre Dame is going to be cool because it's an in-state thing. SMU Penn State will be unique because that's not an opponent we see Penn State up against often. I think,
and vice versa.
Yeah, and then I think Texas Clemson will be interesting because DKR will have a lot of orange in it, one way or the other, but this matchup in particular, why it drew the 8 p.m. slot on Saturday night, is because this is the exact matchup that ESPN wanted.
Yes.
And the college football playoff wanted when they set this 12-team thing up. Now, the winner of this game will play in the Rose Bowl. We can talk about that a little bit and look forward with the path that Ohio State would face to go to the national championship, the ultimate goal, natty or bust, as we've been talking about all offseason here. Ryan Day wanted no part of that on Sunday. He has been in the NFL before. He knows what it's like to just win one in the NFL, in the wild card game.
No matter how you win it, win it.
It is just win, survive, and advance is the name of this game.
Yep.
And he likened it to the NFL. He is not, and I'm sure there are advanced scouts in there who are looking ahead because they have to have an advanced report on Oregon if they beat Tennessee. But this team now has, and I asked Ryan Day specifically about this, it's one thing to look forward and know you're going to the college football playoff. It's another thing to look forward and know who your opponent is.
Yes.
And to know that you're playing in the Horseshoe, and to know you're playing at night, and you get a redemption spot for senior day, and all that and more. The whole kit and caboodle that comes with that.
Yeah.
This team is going to be locked in on Tennessee. Do not expect them to say a peep about a potential rematch against Oregon in the Rose Bowl. Even if we get to talk about it, this team's not going to. Ryan Day set the tone very clearly that they're going to be locked in on Tennessee.
Well, of course they have to be. Yeah. I mean, that's almost moot to even bring up the next game because number one, he's going to say. Number two, Why would they be otherwise?
Yeah.
You know,
you can
can't
be
wait. You
excited.
can't. I mean, it didn't. Well, if they were otherwise a week and a half ago, it didn't work. You know, because they had a chance to play Oregon again, but didn't win the game in between there, which was Michigan. This is a redemption game for the seniors, the guys who aren't going to be coming back next year to Ohio State. This is their chance to get to where they ultimately always wanted to go this year, which was a college football playoff and a chance to play for the national championship. And like Ryan Day says, it's just like the NFL in the sense of you're one and done.
Yep.
It's a one and done situation, and if you're focusing on anything other than the orange of Tennessee coming in here and the incessant, I wonder if the Tennessee band gets to come. I would think they do. But, man, do they play Rocky Top till the cows come home. I like using that term.
Yeah.
They do play Rocky Top till the cows come home. Ohio State fans remember that from 1995 when Ohio State played Tennessee. It was actually ended up being the 96 Citrus Bowl. Peyton Manning was a freshman then or whatever, but and it was cleat gate because Tennessee ended up using illegal long cleats for many of their players because it had rained all before and during that game, and they got a better grip, and Ohio State lost by a touchdown. So if there's any revenge there, anybody like me that remembers that game, you got that going for you from an Ohio State standpoint. But, yeah, I mean, I don't know why they would be thinking anybody except travel agents would be thinking about anything but Ohio State playing Tennessee in 13 days.
Well, you can't spell citrus without UT. So
yeah, that's
Tennessee
a good point.
Citrus Bowl. I booked stuff to the Rose Bowl because we have to. First of all, you have to book it in advance. But
I'm not going to act like I haven't booked an airfare.
Exactly. But again, Ohio State not going to do anything of that sort because, if anything, I think this potential rematch against Oregon provides more incentive to beat Tennessee because you've already had a rematch against Oregon taken from you once by playing like crap, I guess is the word, and losing to Michigan. Don't let it happen again because if you want that crack at Oregon, and I know these guys all do, you give them truth serum. Who do they want to play? They want to play Oregon again.
Well, of course they do. But you can't be. I mean, I'm telling you, Tennessee is a talented football team as opposed to badminton team.
That's not to say that I think that they're looking forward to it, but I think that it does add just another layer of the incentive. Like, not only are you going to advance in a national championship spotlight tournament, not only are you going to could potentially beat an SEC team and not let that three-letter chant ring through the horseshoe. But also it's for the right to go to the granddaddy of them all and play against the team that you've had your eye on since October 12th at 11 o'clock local. Like there is a lot at play here for Ohio State, a lot in the Buckeyes' favor, but at the same time, it's a damn good Tennessee team, and we know that. And Ryan Day was very complimentary, Tim, of the Vols on Sunday here, and I'm sure Josh Heupel will be complimentary of the Buckeyes whenever he takes the podium at 3 p.m. today.
Yeah, I mean, why wouldn't he be?
Getting ready to talk in 5 minutes.
Both of these teams have losses they'd like to have back. That sounds like a dumb statement, but I mean, Tennessee's loss at Arkansas is still a head scratcher. Yeah. Ohio State's lost to Michigan. And that's why, I didn't really go down that path with you about the rematch because bottom line is they had the rematch all set up a week and a half ago. All they had to do was beat Michigan and get Oregon again, and take care of Oregon, and maybe not see them again, but you never know in the college football playoff who you're going to end up playing next. But the bottom line is, there's every reason to not have your eye on anything but Tennessee. They've got a talented, kind of a big play defense with a very good defensive front. Oh, yeah. They've got talented guys in the secondary. We all know that Ohio State is in the process of possibly doing something with its offensive line in terms of a personnel standpoint, a little bit of a shakeup. He didn't go into any detail about that today. Ryan Day didn't. But the last time we saw Ohio State play, really the last two times we saw Ohio State play, it couldn't run consistently against Indiana or against Michigan. So that's got to be that was addressed this past week, is going to be addressed again this week. So there are all kinds of reasons why Ohio State shouldn't be looking any forward than Tennessee with its talented quarterback, Iamaleava.
I'll help.
I'll assist. I usually get these right. Iamaleava.
Yeah, well,
He's very talented.
He's a very good player. Dylan Sampson is one of the best running backs in
Yes.
college football.
Yes.
First team All SEC. I think he was first team All SEC. Very, very good player. They're stout up front on both sides of the ball. James Pierce is one of the top NFL prospects at defensive end in the country.
Yep.
Josh Fryer and Donovan Jackson are going to have to be really good in that matchup. The Buckeyes, again, are going to have to be really good on the edges because Tennessee will spread you out. And by spread you out, I mean as far as the field allows them. They give you 53 and a third, and they use 53 and a third.
No, they use 53 because they don't step on that last third.
Yeah, but I mean, they will spread you out, and that's how they run the football.
Yes.
It's going to be a challenge for Jim Knowles, but I liken it to those Oklahoma teams that Knowles used to face, Lincoln Riley Oklahoma teams, and he did pretty well at times against Oklahoma. So he's got the playbook in mind for one of these spread you out teams, and I'm anxious to see his game plan for this. Ryan Day and Chip Kelly have to have a great game plan to go against this Tennessee front. But yeah, like you said, Nico Iamaleava is going to be a key in this game. He is from Southern California. He plays at Tennessee. The coldest game he's ever played in was 2 weeks ago at Vanderbilt. He looked okay, but not great in the cold. Ohio State didn't look great in the cold a couple weeks ago.
No, it did not.
But we know what Will Howard is capable of in the cold because he did it for years at Kansas State, and then he's done it, for a couple weeks here at Ohio State.
Here's the bottom line coming out of that game. You can't throw interceptions, and you can't miss 2 very makeable field goals. Yeah. That's the lesson, the ultimate lesson learned from that game. Yeah, Ohio State have focused its running game in a different direction. Absolutely. Ryan Day admitted to that. But they've moved on from that in the sense of now you know what it takes to win a big game, and you blew it. Yep. On turnovers and missing field goals, and Tennessee's got that video. But Tennessee has the same thoughts going on in its brain. It's lost to Georgia when they took a 10-0 lead or whatever it was. Yep. They had a lead in that game and blew it. Didn't really do anything in the second half meaningfully offensively, and then of course their loss at Arkansas was like I said, a head scratcher. Where did that come from?
Well, both of these teams, Tim, have a loss to one of the top 2 seeds.
Correct.
And then a head-scratching loss to a team that barely made a bowl game.
Correct.
So they're pretty damn similar. Ohio State just had better wins than Tennessee, which is why the Buckeyes get to host this game, and Tennessee will be on the road. Ryan Day, like you said, offensive line, big topic of conversation today. From a team perspective, he was asked about the Buckeyes wide receivers. I think that was pretty pointed because they didn't get them involved enough in the Michigan game. So he's asked about those guys and the ability to get them the football. Asked about the night game and the horseshoe being rocking. Somebody asked him about Kirk Herbstreit's comments about whether Ohio State fans will boo him. I think by the time this game kicks off, Ohio State fans will be very, very excited to see an SEC opponent come into the cold horseshoe on a Saturday night at 8 p.m. Like, hey, you got tired of noon games? ESPN is your saving grace. They handed you a night game, and it's against Tennessee in the college football freaking playoffs.
If you want to shake down the echoes, I mean, what better matchup could you have than an SEC opponent?
Yeah, I mean, I thought that Ohio State may be the 7 and get like a Clemson or SMU. There was always the possibility of that. We thought Ohio State could be as high as 6, which would have put them against SMU. 7 would have put them against Indiana, which I don't think anybody really truly wanted to see again. This is the matchup that, again...
The committee rewarded the teams that lost in the high-profile conference championship games, being Texas, being Penn State, and being SMU.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it sets a precedent moving forward that if you get to that conference championship game, other than the bye, it doesn't really matter what you do in that.
And what did you – I mean, I was all for SMU making this field based on what I've seen of them all year.
Yeah.
And they make the field. That's a statement by the committee, in my opinion, also, that just because you're a traditional blue blood like I think the state of Alabama might be exploding as we're talking here. But
that's too bad.
So many fans down there think they've been robbed, and I'm going – dude, you lost on the road to Vanderbilt. You got beat by a mediocre to average Oklahoma team, but you did figure out a way to hold on and beat Georgia, and that's your only real claim to fame. Yeah. Why would you be upset?
Yeah, well.
They also got beat, by the way, by the team that's playing Ohio State in Ohio Stadium on December the 21st at 8 p.m., Tennessee.
Yeah, if you want a comp for what Tennessee's going to bring to the horseshoe, I would look at a little bit more athleticism from the quarterback, but overall, they remind me a lot of Penn State. Really good up front in the defense. They've got good corners to complement that front seven, and then the offense wants to run the football.
Yep.
They have better receivers than Penn State, but if you actually want like a team-to-team comparison, I would say that I would liken this Tennessee team to the Penn State team that Ohio State went on the road and beat at the beginning of November. Penn State being the 6th seed, they're going to play SMU. Ohio State, the 8th seed. They'll get Tennessee on Saturday, December 21st at 8 p.m. We are less than 2 weeks from kickoff in the first ever college football playoff. Notre Dame, Indiana, 8 p.m. ESPN on Friday night as the appetizer for an all-day football festivities on Saturday, December 21st. Tim May, the 41-year vet, we're going to be here the whole time covering the Ohio State Buckeyes as they prep for a home game in the college football playoff. I can't believe
Crazy.
It's actually here. The Buckeyes will host Tennessee on December 21st, 8 p.m. Ryan Day will talk a couple times between then. We'll talk to some players, get their feel for the Vols. We'll hear from Josh Heupel later on today. Until then, go to lettermenrow.com. That's where you can get all of Tim's coverage, all my coverage. Thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. Like the video below. Subscribe to the YouTube channel and get your butt over to lettermenrow.com. We'll have full coverage of Ohio State and Tennessee in the college football playoff. We'll see you at lettermenrow.com.